Man, I don't even know these days how to introduce myself. Like, people ask me on the street, what do I do? And sometimes I give them the real answer, which is I sell on Amazon, and that's a very straightforward. It gets a lot more complex, and we'll go into it. But I'm, man, I like to live life and do everything business related. I have always a big passion.
Yeah.
So I used to be at a corporate job. You're a liquor store commission in the province of Quebec, make it out what you want, right?
Yeah.
I was there for a long time, got myself to a director position, but I found out that wasn't for me. And in reality, I wanted to diversify myself in terms of business. So I started real estate investing. I started investing in stocks, maxed out my TFSA. Really, at the beginning, really slow, right? And then got to a point where I amassed enough capital and I just wanted to start my own thing. I always wanted to have my own thing.
Yeah.
Grew that at the same time to the point now where I just tell people like, I flip products online profitably on Amazon, but in reality, the way I structured my business is way more important. And my future, I think, is towards that, is teaching people how to get more free time and really structure a business towards like you can get back all your time. Because at the liquor store commission, I found that that's like one of the things I missed the most was the time. Like I sacrificed so much for them, and did I miss out on my 20s or whatever? Like while I did that,
20s right parade.
Maybe my beginning 20s, but I put a lot of money aside and helped me do what I do today, which I guess if you want to call what do I do today is I run an e-commerce platform.
Right.
I sell through the sales channel of Amazon, both in the United States market and in the Canadian market.
Okay.
And we do it in high volume. That's the general thing. But at the same time, I'm a real estate investor and I like stocks too. So
I mean, there's so much to unpack here. So I'm going to pass it to my partner.
Okay, let's get it started because I'm so curious to hear all about this Amazon business. Honestly, this is the thing that I'm most intrigued about. We spoke about like an hour just before the podcast all about it.
Yeah.
But there's so much more to get involved. So how did you start this? Because you said the first thing you did, you worked at corporate job. You climbed up the ladder, the corporate ladder, we'll say. You saved up enough money. And the first thing you did was what?
Man, it actually doesn't start there. To be honest, it starts way back, like from like probably high school. Like I've always been an entrepreneur at heart, but never took the leap there. I always had like the secure path. So whether it be school or I went to CEGEP and then I didn't decide to go to university. I wanted to make money right away. I kind of, at the beginning at that liquor store commission, I really did enjoy working there, right? But all throughout that journey, I tried stock trading, like day trading. I tried private label on Amazon, which is where you're actually negotiating with like Chinese distributors, getting it sent from China all the way to
Wow.
in Canada. No, I sent to the United States, but I was like 19 years old at the time. I'm 28 now. So like throughout my journey, I've always tried side hustles.
Tried to find a path.
Yeah, social media marketing. I actually had a client like back in the day when Pai Lopez was marketing that. Like I had a client that like $400 a month I was making. I was in CEGEP. I had just finished a stage there because I negotiated a free stage with him. And then after I upgraded and I was taking care of his Facebook back then, I was so early and I didn't know, I didn't take advantage of it. And that ended up, I'm going to put that failing. I learned from it. I learned from so many things to where we fast forward and we get to, I'm in a corporate job. At this point in my corporate job, so my mid 20s, I stopped trying to get rich quick, if you want to put that, right? And I did everything. I was in Bitcoin when Bitcoin was far from what it was today, and I lost it all in BitConnect. I don't know if you guys know what that is. Maybe some viewer knows, but like the first pyramid scheme in the crypto platform, and I fell towards that. Again, mistake, learned.
Yes.
Now, I stopped trying to get rich quick. I was like, okay, I'm going to max out my TFSA. I'm getting older. I'm in a long-term relationship since I was 18. We want to move out one day. We want to invest in real estate. So I was making a pretty good salary at that liquor store commission. Their employees, when I was just a sales clerk, already paid pretty well, for being in CEGEP, making $25 an hour at that age back then.
Good money.
Very good. Minimum wage was like $12 back. I don't know what it is today, to be honest.
For all this inflation and everything. Yeah.
Exactly. Before all this inflation. So, every paycheck, I was living at my parents'. I think every paycheck I was putting $300 towards my TFSA every week. Not every 2 weeks. Every week, $300 in my TFSA to the point where I maxed that out, put money aside. My fiance also put money aside. We made the move of getting real estate. So all this time, I'm playing extra secure, right? Like I put S&P 500, no single stock funds. But the entrepreneur in me, I think, had a crisis at one point. And he just wanted to get out again and do something, right? It was too mundane, right? I really enjoyed becoming a director and managing all my employees, but it got to the point where, I'll dive dip in this just because when I was at that liquor store commission, I grew really quick in the director world, and I went from being an employee to then all of a sudden running a pretty big store, right? There's 5 levels of stores at that liquor commission. We'll call it level 1 to level 5. Level 5 being like a depot, right? Where you have like tons of sales on. And I was at like the 3, which was unknown for a 21-year-old. I was actually the youngest director named there, right? So I was really invested time-wise, and like I had a mask on of like, I'm the leader. I'm going in a very positive energy every single day. Couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah.
One day I meet an old CJEP friend, and he's telling me like, hey, Anthony, I sell on Amazon. Like he was also doing actually real estate, and that's how we connected through CJEP. And I was like, hey, you have doors. I actually just bought my real estate. Let's connect. Through that, we went to just go drive some balls at golf. And he's like, yeah, I sell on Amazon. And I'm like, I've been there. You know, I did that, sold Chinese products. He's like, no, it's not the same. I resell products. Okay. And he's like, yeah, I actually have a friend that does it successfully, and I can tell him to like maybe coach you or whatever. I paid a $400 coaching program. Honestly, it was very basic. It was just the information I needed to know condensed, but then it was me, right? It was the drive inside.
Like anything else, right? Anything else.
And I went with the mentality, and I think that why this was the first side hustle for me that really exploded and became what it is today is because I went in with that mentality of like, okay, I need to invest in this. So like right away, I kind of, through that course, I kind of understood the business model, and I was like, I'm putting $10,000 towards this right away. And then I slowly dripped more into it, because when you start, right, and you're flipping, and I'm sure you're going to have more questions of what actually Amazon selling is, but you start off and you may have $10,000 worth of inventory, and then you might make a few, like 1,000 or 2, and hopefully you reinvest. But if you're able to put yourself an extra 5,000, well, you just grew your capital by 50% yourself. So it becomes a certain question of, at the start, investing yourself. And so for a year and a half at that job, I was successful at being a manager. I think my employees were very happy working for me and worked hard for me, because I always thought of them. And that also allowed me to chill in my office and actually grow this business, because everything's online. I just did both at the same time for a year and a half, to the point where, I'm sure we'll get to, where we had a mutual separation, we'll call it, where I went and took this on. It was a divorce. It was a one-sided divorce, and we'll go into it, but it helped me take off after. And sometimes that fire underneath your ass of like, oh, hey, like I just lost my job that I did like for, at that point, I think it was 8-9 years. At 25 years old, I think I was. So I started at 18 and I left at 25, divorced at 25, right? And the last 2 years have been an insane adventure. I've grew so much as a person, the way I think, the way I, again, structured my business when I started versus the way it is now, completely different. It's an insane journey, man.
Because like, you know, you left a very corporate job. And in Quebec, the Liquor Commission is government owned, right? So it's, you know,
very
very political. I'm sure you had stable salary, great salary.
Oh, absolutely.
I know what they get paid, and it's good. And vacation time, benefits, insurance. And you know, most people make a career working at that company that you worked at, you know, but not everyone takes the plunge to be. I mean, look, granted, it was a one-sided divorce, but maybe that was the push you needed to becoming the full-time entrepreneur that you are.
Well, if we're honest with each other, I think subconsciously you were already doing. You were
100%. In that moment, I was like, I think I really did. Let's call it what it is. I got fired. I technically quit.
He quit on the they didn't, but
let's call it what it is.
Running his business while on the clock.
Call it what it is. I went against the code of ethics, whatever you want to call it, and I got fired. No problem. I think I got fired on purpose. The subconscious, you know, like you said, all kinds of benefits, good salary,
but you weren't fulfilled.
I wasn't fulfilled anymore. But what happens when you just bought a 5-plex? You're planning on moving in with your fiance. Your mother, by the way, I didn't mention this, did her whole career, 35 years at that liquor store commission. Father, classic Italian, conservative, like don't take too much risks. Right. So you have all that pressure, if you want to call it, surrounding, I feel like I would have taken the risk.
Yeah.
I would have taken the risk if I was alone and I was 25 without a 5-year relationship, 7-year relationship at the time, without real estate, and I was really like low debt and like, screw it, let's go. I still live with my parents. It's actually what my brother does. My brother started selling on Amazon. I helped him like grow his business. He still lives with my parents. So he's making all kinds of profit, able to reinvest everything to the business. And he actually works at that liquor store. As an employee. As an employee, not as a director, right? But
That's true.
so again, was it easy? Again, it was kind of forced upon me. So once it happened, I had the biggest smile on my face.
Yeah.
My dad like thought I was depressed.
I mean, it's like,
Oh yeah,
it must have been like a sense of relief.
absolutely. For me, it was the biggest weight off my shoulders. Like it's something that's indescribable. Even at this moment, I can't even recall exactly the feeling. I remember the day that I officially got suspended. Right. So suspended was before I met with the security who checked on like how much time I spent on Amazon while I was at the liquor store commission. And when I got initially suspended, it was a lot of unknown. Like, okay, why am I suspended? Did they catch on that I was doing Amazon or what's not?
And they didn't know.
They knew. I didn't.
They suspended you without
big
any
company, right? A $1 billion company. They do things. I respect it. I learned a ton. I don't regret 1 minute at that company. But they had their things to hide. Like they don't want to. I had to meet the security team later. But at that moment, I was so happy. Like to the point where like I remember my ex-boss. Like when I walked into that room and I saw I didn't have a union, but it was like a union rep. When I saw her, I knew something was going on. So I smiled. Yeah. That was my initial reaction, was to smile. It's not normal, I think, to go and when you're getting fired, you have a smile. And to the point where she noticed and she asked me, like, why are you smiling? Yeah. To which I just went, I don't know what you're talking about. Right. I'm wondering what I'm doing here. And then she read me my rights, or whatever you want to call it. And she suspended me. But that moment, life-changing, for sure.
He walked into that room, he saw that rep, he's like, oh, I'm in shit right now. And he just smiled. I'm in trouble.
I think it's that double life that you were playing.
100%.
Finally was released. It was like, okay, good. I don't need to do the same. I don't need to pretend.
And also the customer service, that liquor store commission was open through all of COVID. Wow. Remember that.
Naturally.
Right? That was, I have to say, one of the most.
But the gyms weren't.
Yeah, the gyms weren't open. Priorities, right? The priorities in our province. But that was one of the most stressful moments, I think, ever, right? Controlling the amount of people that could come in, controlling people that potentially had right opinions on the whole mass situation, ID situation, but I have to enforce what the politics say. Yes. And I'm the director. I have to put on a mask in the morning, make sure that my employees, and also the employees who have like frustrations in them about the way that it's being run, right? About having only 6 people in the store, right? And you have to have someone in the front. But then when there's a violent person in the front, what happens? Luckily, I'm a big guy. I'm able to, again, going back to like, my employees, I fought for my employees. So when they were in trouble, I would come out like, I did Amazon, but don't worry. My numbers were green. I made sure everything. Yeah. There's a reason why I was able to get away with it for so long. Because business ran, right? But going back to the COVID thing, like a lot of stress there. So during that period, I think it really accelerated a quote unquote burnout, if you wish. And I wasn't able to put on that mask anymore, man, of even just customer service. Like I'm great at customer service. I will smile. I would be in my office pissed off because something's going on with Amazon. And then like I turn the corner to the floor, and like boom, the smile comes on. Bonjour, comment ça va? Comment je vous aide? And I was tired of that mask. And when I left, that transformation in the past 2 years is really becoming more authentic.
Yeah.
And being vocal about like what I truly believe in. Yeah. And you got to remember, like, it was a very political environment, and like whether you want it or not, you could not voice your opinion.
Yeah.
And it's corporate, right? And in that world, that's like, I made it a mission for myself of like never going back to that world, and actually building the complete opposite, where I don't need to talk to anybody. I have my employee who we have an absolute great relationship, who lives in the Philippines. Man, I love the way I've structured my life so far, and never say never, anything can happen in life. But going from that 9 to 5 corporate, wear a mask, follow rules, to complete opposite of set your own schedule, be the authentic version of yourself. And when you're talking to people, like, excuse my language, just don't bullshit. Like if they say something you don't agree with, you don't need to be hostile about it. And that for me helps me grow as a person, helps me grow as a businessman, right? Like people can tell when you're authentic or not.
Oh yeah.
And even though you might, like I did a good job at hiding it sometimes, like the ones that are like really that you need to impress in business, whatever, can see right through that. So it's better to be authentic and have a different opinion than actually just fake it and agree with everything the guy or girl is saying, right?
I mean, and like the feeling you got from being 100%, independent versus working in that corporate thing, I'm pretty sure that feeling compensated for the loss of benefits, the loss of, paid.
Think about that.
You don't even think about that because you just feel so good. And what I love about this is because, you mentioned old-fashioned dad, conservative. My father's old-fashioned conservative too. But like them, people get stuck in that sense of security with a corporate job to raise and they're not necessarily happy. But it pays well, they got benefits, and this is what they,
the golden handcuffs, right? Then you get a nice pair of new cars, you get yourself a nice mortgage that's overinflated.
Yeah.
And then like all of a sudden, like you have a $3,500 mortgage because you got $1 million property. Because hey, you might make the salary for it, but then what happens if you're not happy anymore and you want to leave it and downgrade your salary? You can't.
Yeah. And Kevin O'Leary said, salary is the drug that they give you to give up on your dreams, and that's how much it costs.
Absolutely.
Give up on your
Absolutely.
Like, but let's get to.
I think my partner answered the question, yeah, because he's like so interested right now.
Because I gotta understand,
and I'm hyping you up for a couple.
How worth it is it to be a vendor on Amazon?
That's loaded. It's loaded because depends the person, right? I don't think everybody can make it.
Depends what you must be selling, no? Like
anybody can sell everything. If you take a look at my catalog, like Amazon will allow you to sell more brands just the longer your account has existed, the longer sales history you have. But in general, like anybody can start selling it. Anybody could be successful, but that doesn't mean that everybody could be successful on Amazon, right? Well, like certain traits that you might need, well, obviously is absolute discipline and obsessiveness, right? When I say that, for a year and a half while I was in my 9 to 5, every single day, and I can say this with confidence, not over exaggerating, every single day I thought about my business, my side business, not my real bit. And to the point where like I would talk to somebody and like all I would want to talk about is Amazon, to the point where I know for a fact my close ones, people were like, they would just listen to me and like, okay, here you go, it's talking about Amazon again, talking about Amazon again. But you asked the question, like, how worth it is it? I mean, if you get to the point where you're selling 6 figures a month, I'm very close. I can't say that yet. I think in my last trailing 12 months, I'm at $850,000 sold. It's not profit. Don't get me wrong. No, we're like, but yeah, of course, you're gonna make over $10,000 profit a month. But you got to get to the point where, don't forget, this is not drop shipping, right? I'll explain what Amazon is very quickly because it can get very detailed. But in a very, very simple, you're buying from retail stores. Right? Sephora, Canadian Tire, Walmart, Amazon itself. I sell in both markets, Amazon.com and Amazon.ca. Let's say you're selling on Amazon.com. Well, I will buy stuff from Amazon.ca to sell it to Amazon.com. It's that dumb, but it works, right? But let's say we focus on the Canadian market. Well, I will buy things from Sephora at $20, $30 the product, but on Amazon, it's $70. And there's a margin between that you can make money off of. Amazon's going to actually take itself a nice 30% off the top.
Yes.
But once you actually, because it's not drop shipping. I'm not finding these products and when a customer orders it, I buy it from Sephora and send it to the customer. No, I buy it
in advance,
send it to my house. When it gets to my house, we got to label every single product. If it's a product that has liquid and it can leak, we got to put them in an individual poly bag, which is like a little plastic bag. Then we're making box informations to Amazon saying, hey, this box weighs 45 pounds. These are the dimensions. This is what's inside the box. And then Amazon generates the shipping label. All the payments, all of that is all taken care of based off of how much they owe. They owe me anyway. So they're going to take away from that to pay for the shipping. And I'll be able to send like 1,000 pounds worth of goods for a few $100s, which is amazing in Canada. Yeah. So I'll send it to the fulfillment center, right? Those big Amazon fulfillment centers that you see.
But how do you send
UPS.
Which we don't have anymore in Quebec.
Yeah, we don't have any more in Quebec, but it never gets sent to Quebec, honestly. And in my whole career, I've never sent goods. I don't know. I guess some warehouses are more dedicated towards the reception of products. Okay. And then some warehouses, because what happens is, again, the sales cycle is I'll buy a product. It gets to my house. I'm not shipping one product. I'm waiting till I get like a few $1,000s worth of goods. Yeah. Then we're going to prep it. Then we're going to send it through UPS, or if I send it in the States, it goes through a cross-border service. But we're going to send it through UPS. It's going to arrive at the first destination, which is Amazon. Relatively in like 2-3 days, it'll get there. Then Amazon needs to actually scan the boxes, open the boxes, scan all the units, and receive the products. And then that gets distributed across Canada or across the United States, depending on different fulfillment centers, to try to really capture the whole Canadian landscape, right? Like if someone's buying from BC, well, they'd ideally want to have a fulfillment center in BC with the units versus Quebec or Ontario. So like we do that like in mass volume. And if you're able to have enough capital and you're able to buy enough units and you're able to send all these things and you're able to actually, I don't want to say the word guess because we have access to data, right? I'm not a genius. These are all softwares that are available out there. But you'll have access to sales history, how many times it sells a month, predictably. Yeah. And how we do it is very simple. Amazon has a bestseller rank, right? Number 1 means you're the bestseller, right? You sell a book on Amazon. Number 1 means you're the best. Number million means you're number million, right? Well, it's safe to assume that if you're number 100, right, and you haven't sold anything today, well, Mr. 120 might have sold one. The odds are he's going to bump you. So your number is going to rise up and his number is going to go down. Well, based off that, we can kind of determine the number of drops per month.
Right.
Right. So at
project.
Exactly. So at minimum, a drop means one sale.
Yeah.
At minimum. Some bestseller ranks, for number 1 bestseller rank, you're selling thousands and thousands and thousands of units. So some drops might mean multiple units, right? 10, 15 units in that given day or whatever it is. It's based off its sales history. It's performing better. So it drops. So based off those drops, we're able to be like, okay, this unit sells 40 times a month. We see its sales history. So what's its predictable sales cycle? Okay, why does during Christmas the price explodes? Maybe it's an advent calendar and it's high in demand. Or why does the Halloween stuff spike it? So we are able to see the whole landscape of the past 3 years of all like its sales like pattern. And then lastly, we have the amount of sellers, the pattern. So at what point, because we could be all 3 of us selling the same product on Amazon.
So, yeah.
And on Amazon, there's a buy box. That's what we call it, right? When you go on Amazon, there's the add to cart and the buy now. That could be removed if the price is too high. It's all AI, Amazon AI that determines that. But ideally, we're looking for the buy box. And now how does it distribute? Well, those are trade secrets. Yes. But like it will distribute between us 3. And so there'll be 50 units sold a month, but then we got to distribute it all 3. And now there's ways to get it better than others. Obviously, an easy way is just having more inventory. If I have more inventory than you guys distribute it across Canada, depending the customer that's going to try to buy it, it's going to automatically go, okay, this guy has units in BC, clients in BC, automatically. By the time the person clicks the page, it's already loaded on the seller, right? So by looking at the amount of sellers, you kind of estimate, okay, when there's high supply and demand, right? It's very basic stuff. When there's a lot of sellers, what happens? The price drops.
Yeah.
So you can kind of predict things before you buy them. And that's kind of how I'm sure about my test orders. But then the best data available is your own data.
Yeah.
So then I sell things, and then based on, and that's where we marry my old corporate job, which being a director, I ordered like when you go into an Estra, I was going to say it, when you go into a liquor store commission, you know, there's a bunch of products. Yeah. There's a lot of products that are called like regular products. So you'll find them all the time. The Lianos, the classic products. But then you'll have the Cellier section and stuff like that, like the specialty products. That's like, and even the regular products.
And that's cased off, like in a
case off. Case is a 12, right? Yeah. But for me, I know like, okay, my best sellers might not be the Cellier ones. It might be the regular products that are selling 100 times a week. Well, I got to make sure like I'm the one ordering that. Right. So I went from doing that to now sending stuff to Amazon, getting sales data back saying, hey, this week you sold 14. Okay, easy. Yeah. 14 this week divided by 7 days a week. Because remember, Amazon, I'm open 7 days a week, 24/7. So I average 2 a day.
2 a day. Yeah.
I want 45 days worth of inventory. 45 times 2, let's do it. And then like how I test order things, I'll say like it says it sells 50 times a month. Yeah. To this point where I'm deploying as much capital as I am, it's just by 50.
Wow. And I follow him on Instagram and I see like the boxes that you post.
It's insane.
At your door, the trunk of your Bronco.
Yeah.
Everything. And like, sometimes you can actually see there's a living room, you know, all those boxes there, you know.
Shout out to my fiance. I kind of brainwashed her.
Kind of.
And I'm sure we're going to get into the real estate part later, right? But I have my own building. I run my business out of my unit in my building, right? I live in the 5.5 of my 5-plex. And through that, like when we initially moved in, I could convince her to get a room for Amazon. But, you know, when you get to the volume that I do, it gets to the point where you're getting so many boxes that 12 by 12 room does not fit. And then she's a clean freak, so she's getting mad that I'm like, listen, let's just take the living room.
This room of the house. At the beginning, you convinced her that you could get a room for Amazon.
And then we just push the limit slowly but surely, right? Sales tie. And now we like, she helps me all kinds, right? Like she's been a blessing for me in my business. And because she helps, like, I call her like my director, like how I was when we do our stock like once a week or once every 2 weeks. She runs the show. I'm at the end. We are like, her family helps me so much. Like her mom comes and help pack. Her brother comes. They enjoy it on the weekend, and she runs the show. So that's kind of how I got her to make it in the living room. Right? It's like now that she runs the show, she has more interest in the actual product.
Was that one employee?
Yeah. Well, listen, I always say, well, I don't pay them. I always tell them, hey, listen, time and a half times zero is still zero. But like I leverage people like that to help me out, and like obviously I try to pay back in any way I can, like through suppers or whatever. But a lot of help, certainly being able to do it through my real estate helps a lot, because I don't have the expense of having a warehouse.
Yeah.
Right, like we're talking about a few $1,000s potentially a month for any decent sized warehousing space.
Yeah.
Why cut into my margins that way? Like,
I was going to ask you, like, at what point did you realize that your real estate investment could help benefit your hustle, your Amazon business? You know, like, because most people, like you said, would rent a warehouse, and now you have an overhead cost of $2,000-$3,000 a month, whereas you're like, you could leverage your real estate investment to make your, you know, like,
yeah. So how I actually got to that mindset was, we have to wind back to the start of Amazon. I actually didn't even prep my own units. Right? I had, and it's a recurring theme in my life, certainly post corporate, was like how to get as much freedom as possible through levers and through leverage. And one way was, okay, what if I have a 3PL, which is a third party, I don't know what the L stands for. It's a prep center. Instead of sending it to my house, to my address, I would send it to Alberta. Right. And I had this company who I had a good relationship with, and they would essentially do all the prep and send for me. So like, we're talking about full automation. Like, we're buying products online. We're never seeing them. It's getting shipped to somewhere else in Alberta. They're going to prep it for me, and they're going to send it to Amazon, and they're going to charge me $1 a unit.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's convenient.
Which is very convenient, right? Like, I don't need to do anything anymore. But, you know, then I lose my corporate job. I'm trying to scale aggressively. I meet a mentor, and like, he's telling me, like, you know what happens to get to the point where you're selling 3,000-4,000 units in a month? I asked, like, $3,000-$4,000 that you're paying before you sell the products, right? So some products we're looking for like a 30% return on the dollar. Yeah. Well, no, like, some products return 100%. Some products return 77%. It's an average, like the S&P 500. It's an average. There's going to be products that are negative, right? Yeah. So if we're paying $1 a unit on products that are returning negative, just to get back like our money, well, it's a big upfront cost, and that could be leveraged in other ways. And he kind of convinced me, like, do it at home. I was like, you know what, that's not a bad idea. And I wasn't to the point where I was now. But then I started growing, and I got it. And I using that mindset of keeping capital in, right? Yes. So it wasn't a question of, should I get a warehouse or should I not? No, I can save more money by not getting a warehouse. It was, I already took on the expense of having and outsourcing it and going, okay, I can do this myself and almost get a whole salary back in my pocket, $4,000 a month in the company. So I was like, screw it. And then I always kept that mentality.
Yeah. I mean, because we were talking the other day, and you were telling me that you thought about using the 3.5 in your building, the 1 bedroom, as your essentially your warehouse. Yeah. So you get to get your living room space back.
Yeah. Ideally, right? So let's think about the long term for me. Like, it's not ideal to always run this from the fiveplex, right? Like,
but it would be more convenient to run it from
absolutely. So a warehousing space one day will kind of have to happen, right? If I continue scaling. Now, whether it's a question of, instead of renting, maybe I buy something, and maybe my numbered company can actually own assets, and we can start building a portfolio of real estate that we can, same mentality, take advantage of, right? My mentor, that's what he did. He bought himself a commercial property and completely like took over the commercial units for himself while he rents the residentials on top, right? I blanked out. What was your question?
You know what? I blanked out too on my question.
Usually it's a 3.5.
Yeah, sorry. Thank you. At one point, we had worries that are tenant in the three. So it was a 2.5 actually.
Yeah.
It was a 2.5, but a large 2.5. And he was for his privacy reasons, I won't name it, but like he potentially was going to prison, right? Like we didn't know or anything like that, so I kind of had to plan. And I was like, man,
Same time, you're like, yes.
yeah, you know, like without being, I like the guy, but I was like, okay, like, let's be realistic. The guy's paying for 2.5 in downtown Terrebonne. The guy was, yeah, he's under market. He's paying like 650.
Yeah.
Maybe I can get like 8 for a 2.5. You know, yeah. If it's, I go, would I pay 850 for yeah, exactly, for a space that I can run my business? And my answer would be yeah. Like if it's enough space to actually store units and work out of, and then on top of that you have a working bathroom, kitchen, all the above. And I'm like, man, that would be an awesome opportunity.
But it's like a loophole because, like, for example, I own a duplex that I wanted to convert into a 3-unit, and ask my partner Anthony. Every time I wanted to convert it, I ran into a hurdle after hurdle after hurdle, and until the point where I said, you know what, I to convert this into a residential unit for a tenant to live in, it'll cost me 70% more than what my initial budget was. So what I decided to do was divide the basement from the main floor, and now my personal name rents the basement to my management company as dry storage. So I keep all the materials, flooring, toilets,
100%.
And
we do the same thing, right? Tax season just finished. Like that's a huge benefit of certainly owning like an Inc. You can really do a lot of different taxable things, and that's one thing. Like everything's taxable. All the square footage that I use for business, which I mean at this point, without needing to do any sort of tax fraud, this is 100% legal. Revenue could come back, can walk into my door. I have boxes in my living room. I have one room full of empty boxes that we use it as that, and then I have an office that I do use for my business. So 3 rooms out of a 5-plex is being used legitimately for business. So just that can take away so much of your income. So there's a lot of loopholes you can do. And I think it's very important in this day and age. Certainly, the more the businesses go online, right? There's obviously landscapers, things like you can't, like, yeah, you can market online, but your job, your services is in the presence. But the more that the online world is becoming popular and that there's more types of jobs that open up on that, like, I really think that we have an opportunity to leverage little amount of money to turn into a big opportunity, right? And the opportunity is what you make it. Yes. But that little bit of money, whether it's hiring overseas help, whether it's taking a 2.5 unit, which is going to be like $800, which for me in my business, I'm blessed enough to say that it's not a lot of money, right? And be able to do that. And then all of a sudden, oh, I don't need to travel to a warehouse. Okay, when I order my products, where do I get them ordered? I get them ordered at my house, or I get them ordered at the warehouse. What happens when we're not at the warehouse? They're going to leave the products out, because this is just a regular retail order. They're going to leave it outside. When I have 27 boxes being delivered, I have to be, so again, it's
your philosophy also is freedom.
That's it, right? I try to make every single decision based off of like, okay, is this taking away from my time? And sometimes there's good things that like take away from the time. But in general, every single business movement, like certainly long term, I always try to think about that. And yeah, like I really try to live life. Like I said, today you invited me on the podcast, no problem. I have nothing unless I schedule a specific meeting. But again, in my type of line of work, everything's online. Everything. So,
and you're talking to people with different time zones, right?
My VA, he's 12 hours ahead.
I want to get into that too.
We're gonna. I want to ask about the VA too, but one thing I want to ask, because you mentioned a couple of times your mentor. We coach people on how to invest in real estate and everything, and we believe in mentoring. I in the beginning, I didn't believe in it until I joined a mentorship community. What's your thought on your mentor or mentorship, in business in general, and how has it helped you? Tell us a little bit about that.
In today's world, you got to be careful of mentors. That's my first.
You have to find someone who's experienced but has hands-on experience, because anyone could teach a curriculum.
I agree.
But nobody, like it takes a select few to teach it by hands-on. Like what we teach, we've done ourselves or we've done with our clients, right? So one way or another, we have the hands-on experience, but there's a lot of them out there that don't have that hands-on experience, right?
I completely agree. I think like for your line of work, I think that it's a lot more trustworthy. I don't know about the necessarily like of the mentorship in the real estate world, but when it comes to like the online world, it's a lot more shady. A lot more people, like it's so easy to just fake screenshots, right? They're like, hey, I'm $1 million seller, but in reality, are you? You can change things up where I can show super high profit on one day. Cool, maybe I finish a day with like 40% margins, like return on the investment of 70% in one day. Yeah, that's one day out of the month. But if I just share that, like it looks crazy.
Yeah.
So I think it really becomes like the more people have content out there, like you guys, like putting out a podcast, I encourage really to go after mentors that you know already in a way that you connect with, right? That you feel like has like a good connection with you, a good vibe. Now, what do I think about mentorship? Because I said it's very difficult to find a good mentor these days, but I think mentorship is one of the things that most people need when they're trying to grow a business. And sometimes it's just for the mentor to give you permission to do things, right? Like for me, I don't think it was my mentor taught me anything out of like that, like was revolutionary. He gave me, and he tells me this to this day, like I just told you kind of like information, you actually did it. You deployed your capital, but he gave me permission almost, like, because I saw him doing multiple 7 figures per year on Amazon. And he was like, listen, like, you know what you're doing. Why don't you just add a 0 at the end of what you're ordering? Yeah, like sounds stupid easy, but like it worked. And through that, like asking like questions, like he's there, and I didn't pay him one dime. Like I mentioned, I paid for a course at the start. Like that person gave me like the start. Again, I invested in it, right? I think there's actually something about like putting money towards your education subconsciously makes you work harder. I really truly believe in that.
It's an investment.
Exactly. You're investing in yourself. So if it's free and you're not, like for me, this mentor was free, but I was like all in. Right? And I think that's why he took an interest in me. I was going really hard on content on Twitter on the Amazon space. And I actually did my own little podcast, but it was nothing like crazy. Just because I love the Amazon space so much, I wanted to showcase Canadian sellers. There wasn't that many, so hard to keep on. But like this guy was like behind the scenes, not really someone who like was active on Twitter and all that, and I had seen just a sales screenshot of him that he did millions, and I sent him a message like, hey, like, you want to come on my podcast? He never did, but he was like, he never did because I stopped it. He never did this, I stopped it. I ended up meeting him, and he was like, listen, take me out to coffee first before we get on your podcast. And a couple of weeks later, a couple of months later, like I ended up not continuing that podcast because podcasts are hard. So good job on that, like continuing it, but I ended up meeting that guy, and that's, I think my business changed forever after I met him. So what do I think about mentorship? I think that it's absolutely a key to success. It's just very difficult to get the right mentor. And I want to, like, let's say someone wants to really, like, is interested in real estate. So I'm going to put it in your guys' boat. And he might have had a bad experience with a mentor, another mentor. Yeah. I don't want viewers or listeners to get discouraged about doing it again with somebody else. Because there are bad people in this world. It's unfortunate. And some people, you know, are very enthusiastic and they can sell really good, but like you said, they never really actually did it. So when it comes to actually teaching the curriculum, they can go through the A to Z and give you the general rundown, but giving you those tips and like the follow-ups of like, you know, for you, it might be, hey, I found this property. Like, what do you think about this underwriting? Is it actually good? Do you think there's actually plus value here? And then just you being able to like, hey, I think it's good. They're going to be so like the weight lift. Oh, like Giancarlo told me it. I think so I'll do it. And it just gives them that push in the butt to actually move things. Cause at the end of the day, man, it's about doing it. Because it's like you fail or not, you're still going to succeed at the end by you to learn something.
I mean, I could tell you, I started off my career as a real estate broker and I became an investor later. And the broker that I was after I invested in real estate was way different than the broker that I was before I invested. Because now, you know, at the beginning I was selling houses from a real estate broker's lens. Now I'm selling houses from an investor's standpoint. You know, so
to your point, and I don't want to bash at all on the real estate world at all, but I think there's a lot of people that are missing that, right? Like when I bought my property, like the guy was a nice guy. He sold a lot of houses. When it came to like multi-properties, I found, in my opinion, that I was more educated. I'm obsessive by nature, obviously, but I went deep into like underwriting and what makes a good property when you're trying to buy it. And I was sending leads to him, like, what do you think about this? Great property. Great property.
But no
Great property.
no substance.
Okay, cool. We get to the property. My dad's in landscaping. He's like, yo, this is like, you're going to be like already 20 G's right away when you got to buy it. You got to fix this. Real estate agent didn't help me there. So like, I think there's missing people that have the experience in every domain, in every mentorship, right? And it's a big proponent. But to go back to your question, absolutely. Mentorship is 100% worth it. I still do mentorships on the side here and there, like people that do want to learn Amazon. I tend to charge like a premium because of the type of business that we're in and like the cash flow that you can generate. But again, I've done it for 3 years. I actually did it at the beginning and I was doing 20,000 sales a month. And like I fell into that trap, if I would want to call it, of like actually coaching, because I've always been a good coach, right? Yes. At my old job, I coached football. Like I love to like, help people and coach. I like to speak, if you guys can't tell, right? But
we'll give that impression now.
So sales came easy, right? Like I'm a good person on camera. I'm able to talk in front of the camera. People get attracted to me and the message, because I've always given that message of freedom and all that. But when it came and like, I wasn't charging the price that I charge today. I charge less, but still I would get 5-6 clients and yeah, it would help them. But it took so much of my time. I was actually ignoring my actual business. So I think it's a trap for a lot of people and it's very lucrative, to be honest. And that's why people do it, but it's not right. So now, like, the more mature version of me, like, will I do mentorship? Yeah, if there's the right person with the right mentality, with money, that's able to, like, invest in their own business, right? Like, so that's my, like, a very big answer for that simple question, but yeah.
You know what me and John Carlos say? Whenever we have someone in front of us, they're interested, we're like, okay, but are you serious about this? Because we're not interested in working with you if you're not serious.
Every single day for a year and a half, I'm always going to tell people that I obsessed with Amazon. Every single day, go to bed, wake up. Yeah. It sounds fake, but it's not.
The saying is, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink, right? And we work with, some of our, clients and students. And like, when we give them a task to do, you could really tell the difference between those who are all in, like you are with your Amazon, and those who are like 1 foot in the door. When I give somebody a task and I say, okay, we're having a meeting on a Monday, for next Monday, here's your task, do this. And then the next Monday comes around and I find out that they only started doing their task that I gave them a week ago, yesterday, 24 hours before, because it's a testament to you can lead a horse to the water, but you can't
100%.
It's that, and it's also, imagine we're searching for investment properties. It's fun. It's exciting. Start sending me some things.
Yeah.
Let's start.
You gotta have fun. I love the underwriting. Like I love the whole idea of creating like understanding that it's not just your mortgage. You got to take into account like what city you're buying in, what are the taxes there. Like all these things. What's going to be insurance on this? If it's going to be a 4-plex, a 5-plex. How much down? Like all those things intrigue me. I love that. Right? Yeah. You have to be all in whatever side venture you wanna start doing. Yeah. And that's kind of why like I charge a high price for that, is because I got tired. Because I'm a high worker, right? Like I love to work like crazy. So I kind of expect that in everybody.
You're going to get someone serious.
Exactly. So I charge a high price and I tell them straight off the bat, like, listen, I charge a high price, but not like that's the least of your worries, because you want to actually build a business where you're going to need to put multiple thousands of dollars, if not in the tens or 20,000s. And the reality is the more you put in a business where you need assets, right? Like an assets in my sense is inventory, right? Where we're like, whether you're opening your own clothing brand and you have a brick and mortar store, which brick and mortar, you're adding on more expenses because of rent, but just the actual goods, you need to buy these things.
Absolutely.
So either you're running on debt, which isn't good to solely run on debt. I think getting debt to resell is great, but only running on that is not good. So you need money. So again, you have to be all in. There's no going in. I refuse to take on a client now if they come in and they say, I have like $2,000, but I want to make this work. I'm determined. I'm sure you can. Yeah. There are some people that will make it and will be consistent for 3 years and turn that 2,000 to 20,000. And now they're playing the game of step one, which I want to start at 10, 15.
Yes.
And that gives the best like opportunity for the client. So for you guys, it would be like real estate. Someone comes in like, I have $5,000 and I want to invest. Go back to work. We'll get you a 5% down on a duplex, and we'll say you're living in or whatever. We can get creative, but you need something. You can't come in with a cut. And it's crazy because I'm sure there's a lot of, I think the younger generation really wants to get more involved in their own business or whatever it is. And I think that 9 to 5 world for the newer generation gets less attractive. Yeah. But the thing is the dream is being sold too easy. So they kind of want to make it from nothing. And it is possible. Like, but the reality is you want to make the best bet possible, going with as much money as possible into business with.
And that requires you working full time.
Absolutely.
Working on your side hustle on the side. And seriously, being dedicated as hell, like you keep saying.
Absolutely. Like if you want to build something, okay, service business, can you do it without a lot of money? Yes. But my challenge would be, imagine if you did. Now you can get the right equipment, right? Let's say pressure washing, random thing. Well, I'm sure that if you have a $5,000 piece of equipment or $10,000 piece of equipment to help you, you're going to get jobs done faster. The quality is going to be better, all these things. So even in a service-based business, you'll be able to take advantage of a lot more money. So nobody that's starting a side business should be that's young, that doesn't have access to a lot of capital, should be 100% into their side business. It needs to be that. A side business, go get yourself a job, hopefully a little bit better paying than minimum wage, but heck, even if it's minimum wage, do something. Door knock if you're really into it. Clean, shovel, like you want to be an entrepreneur, shovel like thing and charge $20-$30, whatever it is. You can do that inside an hour. You need to get a couple of thousands of dollars. Like it sucks for the people that don't have that or maybe whatever. But the reality is you want to give yourself the best chance to create a side business that turns into your real business that allows you to get the freedom. Well, you got to invest in it. And I don't feel bad for people anymore that try to take the cheap route and go, I'll do it, but I don't want to put that much money in it. Go ahead, man. I won't coach you.
Yeah. I mean, man, this was a fun episode, and this is unfortunately all the airtime we have. I think we haven't even started. I'll come back. You guys are like, we'll definitely have you back. But like,
have you guys have a guest like 2 times? I gotta beat them. I gotta beat 3 times then. Like,
don't have in 4. Let's go, man. But before we go, anyone who's interested in connecting with you, let the people know how they could find you.
Yeah. So on Twitter, it's all different types of content. On Twitter, it's more like very Amazon specific. It's at Real Mancini on Twitter. They're all different handles. I'm really not a good. Like I have a personal brand and I have 3 different handles. Crazy. Right, so
it is
at Mancini on Twitter. You can find everything on Instagram through my link tree, right? So on Instagram, it's Mancini Anthony _. You'll see all my progress from day one on Instagram. I have stories, archive stories on there where you can see me start growing this side business from what it was, a side business, having a table that's not even half full of inventory to you see the progress to today where I have a living room full of boxes, $30,000-$40,000 worth of inventory of everyday goods in my living room. So it's crazy journey to see there. And then I also have YouTube if you want to get a little bit more on the philosophy of like the way I talk of really buying your freedom. Obviously, it's Amazon-ish related, but I have tried to go more business general, and I do reference Amazon because it is my business. So on YouTube, it's Mancini FBA. On Twitter, it's Real Mancini, and on Instagram, it's Mancini Anthony _. But you can go on Instagram and find all my profiles on there through my link tree.
And there's no reason not to find him, guys. Okay, he gave you everything. So if you want to connect with him, you have no reason not to connect with him.
And just send me a message, even if it's like I said, I don't push hard for coaching. That's not my business. I did that before. Like now, I really only do it if you're really motivated. And like I said, hopefully I don't sound egotistical or like a dick or anything. But like, don't come with me if you only have a few $1,000s. I want to really make you a real business, and you got to respect my time. I'll respect yours, and we'll build you a big business if you come with that.
Oh man, we appreciate you taking the time.
Yes, sir. Thank you guys so much.
Seriously. Yes, sir. And guys, while we're on the topic of Amazon, my book, The Investor's Edge, Mastering Real Estate, is available on Amazon. So be sure to search that up and get your copy today. And for those of you watching, don't forget to like, follow, comment, subscribe, wherever you're watching, listening, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Where else are we, Anthony?
You name it.
Yeah.
Wherever you're
Instagram, Facebook,
click the subscribe.
TikTok. And until next time, guys, well, thank you for tuning in to PVP.